We're good? Awesome. What's up, everybody? It's Gary Vaynerchuk here at Vayner Media. Al and I have decided to do something pretty cool.
This is very exciting.
Taking advantage of live streaming.
Yes.
And talking about that in itself. But so for everybody watching, I know I'm posting this on my Facebook Live, and you're sharing it on yours, which is exciting. I know the scope is there. I'm excited. What's up, everybody on the scope? Got to give Twitter a little love. Al, super excited that our teams got together and we decided to hang out a little bit. We originally got to hang out a little bit when I was doing my wine thing.
Years and years ago.
That was fun.
That's right. At least you made something of yourself.
I think you did okay, kid.
You know.
And on that point, that's actually a good point, because I think I really wanted to do this for kind of the state of the union of media in general, streaming television. Obviously, and this is with all truth, back to making something yourself. As a real TV icon, I think you bring a lot of interesting perspective, especially because you're also being so progressive on where you're seeing the future going. And I would love if you could first share with some of my audience, Roker Media, what you're actually up to. Because I do think, especially for a lot of people in my age group that grew up in New York, we've known you forever.
Yeah.
And I think watching your career evolve from the New York metro area to a national player, and then I know you a little bit more from an entrepreneurial business standpoint because I run in those circles. But I'm really kind of excited because it feels like you're stepping it up even a little bit more. I'm even asking for myself a little bit, like, Al, what are you up to right now with this?
Well, you know, it's really, I mean, I have Al Roker Entertainment, and we do traditional television production, and that's fun, and I still love doing that. But this live streaming thing, it's kind of like what live television was back in the 1950s. Nobody was quite sure what it was going to do. And we thought, instead of trying to fit a round peg into a square hole, we'd just kind of reinvent another part of the company and call it Roker Media.
Okay.
And
Is that producing for the live environment?
It's a little bit more. It's producing for the live environment. It's aggregating brands. It's bringing talent to these streams, to these different platforms, experimenting with these different platforms. I mean, look, they've come and gone. You know, I mean, a little more than a year ago, I was at South by Southwest, and everybody was talking about Meerkat.
That's right. And now they're not.
And now they're not.
And if somebody put $500,000 into Meerkat, that hurts my feelings. Yeah, I mean, but it's true, right? When you think about a Vine or a Meerkat or Social Cam, if you go back for all the old school peeps in here 3 years ago, or 3.5 years ago, that was the platform that really taught me where a lot of the online video, mobile first place would go with Instagram and Vine and Snapchat, things of that nature. That's that landscape, and it's gonna ebb and flow.
It really does. Like right now, we're having some great success with YouNow, for example, which is it's funny because I've got a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. I've also got a 29-year-old, and it's kind of funny. The 29-year-old's more on Facebook, right? And my teens are on YouNow. Yep. It's really kind of fascinating to watch how.
How much do you use the kids as focus groups?
They are my
yourself?
petri dish, you know. I mean, they really are, because I look at what they're doing. You know, YouNow, Snapchat, very big. Here's a little known fact: almost 99% of the time, my face is not recognized by Snapchat. So my daughter's trying to do those little filter things. Yes. It won't do my face.
Are you a ghost, Al?
I am a vampire. I'm an online vampire.
Al, I think the thing that I most want to know, and then we'll jump on some. So we got some buddies here as well to jump in on that third seat. As somebody who really grew up in television, what is your perspective on your contemporaries? How do the titans or the movers and shakers of television, are they disrespectful to the interruption? Do they even believe that all this stuff is happening? You really firmly have your foot. You're at the highest level on a television play. You've got the production company, and you've been, you know, I used to use you as an example in my talks as like the 5 to 10 real celebrities back in the day that understood this was coming. You were early to Twitter. You did all the right behavior, in my point of view, from afar. Do you think that there's still a big audacity, a disrespect, or not even an acknowledgement that this is starting to emerge?
I don't think so.
I'm asking.
I don't think so.
You think it's the other way? You think there's fear?
I think there's, for some, there's fear. I know the folks I work for, Comcast, I don't think they're afraid. I think they're looking at how to harness this. Right. I mean, the smart ones, and I work for a lot of smart people, see this and see it as a dual stream in a sense. You're a broadcaster, but you're also casting. I think you look at this, whether it's this, or it's your iPad, or it's a computer screen, or it's a 50-inch whatever that hangs on the wall. It's all television.
That's right.
It's all TV. How are you going to get to the most number of people?
That's right.
And that's where you got to go.
And then I want to bring in Jesse. Jess, you can roll in here, and I'll introduce you in a second if you can get over here. You're actually physically rolling.
He's got his own chair. That's impressive.
Let me ask this quick question, Jesse. I'll get into you in a second. Like, the 17, 13-year-old, how much television are they watching, or are they just living in their phone?
You know what's and I don't know if my kids are
affected by you being on television?
Exactly. Yep. I'm not sure. But for example, I've got a kid, my 17-year-old, who is on YouTube, now, but also watches reruns of Seinfeld on TBS. I mean, physically is watching TBS and Big Bang Theory reruns.
Makes sense.
So and my 13-year-old, again, now, but also watches traditional sitcoms that are produced for Nickelodeon. Yeah. So I think a lot of kids.
Little Nick at Night?
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, one of my kids' favorite shows is Full House. Watch the.
Uncle Jesse's a good-looking dude.
Watch the new.
India?
Watch the reboot of Fuller House, and is now watching the reruns of Full House.
Jesse, why don't you tell the Vayner Nation, the Roker Nation, everybody watching right now a little bit about yourself. Obviously, we're business partners, and so I'm excited about that.
Yeah. So Jesse Redness, one of the co-founders, along with Gary and our other partner, David Beck, who's here, of Brave Media Ventures. So we work with a lot of major media companies and brands dealing with this revolution, I guess you can call it, of media. So there's an evolution and a revolution happening with how people are consuming media, the screens that they're doing it on. How do you monetize that? How do you understand how to create content for that, distribute it, and actually drive a profitable business?
So Jess, I wanted you to jam with us because you're so deeply knowledgeable of what's going on with the upfronts and new fronts. I know for a lot of my audience, why don't you ground them in what an upfront and new front is in a minute, and then kind of like give us an update, and let's pontificate a little bit about like what we see.
Sure. So on the grandest scheme of it all, the upfronts really are focused by the major media companies to sort of kind of showcase the new programming, and you're probably very familiar with this process.
We just had NBC just had theirs.
Exactly, just yesterday, as did Fox, and 2 weeks before that they had the new fronts. But the upfronts really are a place for the media companies to showcase all the ad agencies, all the great shows that are coming up in the next TV season. So the TV season actually starts in Q4 of this year and runs through the first 3 quarters of next year. So this is really where a lot of these ad agencies come in, identify the types of shows that they want to align with the brands that they represent, and then they go into what is known as that upfront negotiation period, which runs typically until end of June, if you're lucky.
And how long have new fronts been going on?
The upfronts have been going on
for... No, the new fronts.
New fronts are in their 12th year.
And that's what the digital companies do.
And that is all the digital companies. So Digitas LBI a couple years ago with the IAB came together to essentially start representing a lot of the digital companies that started with YouTube and others to get in on this exact same play. And now it's actually grown to over 30-plus companies that spanned over 2 weeks over the previous 2 weeks, in which you're having everyone from Hulu and Mashable to Tastemade and Digitas LBI having their own new front opportunity come into play. And they're really talking about the content they're developing and deploying across all of the digital footprint companies.
And so what were for the people that are, what are the 2-3 things that popped? Like what caught the biggest buzz?
Yeah, so biggest buzz I'd say which is really out of the new fronts was live. Live was one of the main focal points. It really, you're coming out of E-Online talking about a new live show. We came out of Digitas LBI themselves.
And real quick, I want to ask, because I actually want to know, E-Online saying a live show on Facebook or Periscope?
On Facebook Live and Periscope and others. Mostly Facebook Live. I mean, at the end of the day, Facebook is the biggest, baddest beast in the space right now. And they're getting the most amount of breadth.
And are they traditional going to be, did they say whether it's a traditional length, like a 30-minute or?
Some of them are basically launching to go as long as they want. When you're looking at BuzzFeed doing the exploding watermelon, that was 45 minutes long, and you're staring at nothing until the watermelon actually exploded.
Well, you looked at a watermelon.
Yeah, you worked at a watermelon. I would think that the smart ones are looking at how do they translate this into a TV format, right? The 22 or 42-minute building in ad opportunities, which isn't fully fleshed out yet, but it's getting there. So sponsorship opportunities, native integration opportunities, and then there's different rules on how you can throw in bugs and different programming slates to monetize.
What else?
You know, VR was very big as well.
Dude, let me ask you a question. So, like, and a lot of you that watch my stuff know that I think consumer VR is further away than people think.
I do.
This reminds me so much of Internet 91, 92, when like in 2 years everybody's going to be on the internet buying everything, grocery van and pets.com and all that. I think that there's way. Are you in that?
I
it's going to happen,
I think
but
you're absolutely right. I think it's like 3D television. Yeah, everybody was, we've got to do 3D TV. Got to do 3D TV. Where's 3D TV today? I mean,
the only thing I would say, from my perspective, I'd like you to clarify. For me, I actually think VR is going to happen. I just think, in the same way that '92 internet was probably 2005 internet was more of what people thought in '92 was going to happen in '95.
Right.
You know, it just takes. I mean, we're asking people to probably eventually put contact lenses and sit in their home and live life.
Yeah.
That's a big cultural jump.
Yeah.
In the same way. Even shopping online right now is still 20% of the market. Like, when I launched WineLibrary.com 20 years ago, would have never believed that it would took 20 years just to get 20% of the market.
Yeah, I think augmented reality is going to be really the thing before virtual reality. You know, I mean, you see it already in sports, you see it in all sorts of programming. We're looking at it in weather. That's going to be. I think, although it's not as sexy
I get it.
as
virtual reality. But live is now, right?
Yeah. Live is very much
like
now.
Anybody that has this can go live, especially because of now Periscope and Facebook. So it is.
I apologize, Jess. One of the things I want to talk about is, Jess, we're going to bring Nick in a minute. Nick, start getting ready to get over here. Obviously, through our Brave partnership, we invested in this company. You guys have now done something in partnership, which I don't fully have the details on. But I think it's appropriate for you to set up the Nick relationship with Brave. Like, why did you and David really want? Real quick for everybody's watching, in Brave, these guys are investing as well. Why? You know, you made a few investments. Why was that one of the bets you made?
When we met Nick, we've known Nick for a couple of years, but he came to us with his notion of embracing the creator economy. And for people that understand Dave, myself, and the beliefs that we have, we truly believe in the new paradigm of how content is created. And Nick is embracing influencers. He's embracing the new kind of generation of creators. He knows and understands how to leverage APIs from the different social platforms. He loves content, the creative aspects of what he brings to the table, along with strategic opportunities to understand data analytics and insights to help shape that creative.
Isn't it true that you also love Snapchat stars?
He loves Snapchat stars inside and out, and so he is all about Snapchat. So
and musically.
Fundamentally, Snapchat AR, right? How many layers of Snapchat?
Get in here, get in here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
So we believed in that, and now Del Mondo is starting to really take off. So you take my seat, young man.
You want to roll out?
I'll roll out.
All right,
I'm
gonna
roll.
you get a fresh chair.
I get a fresh chair.
Nick, some of you might recognize Nick from the guy who dropped the mic at the Musically episode.
Literally dropped the mic.
I appreciate that. But for the people that don't know, why don't you tell everybody for 30 seconds who you are, and then I'd love for you guys to jam and tell me what you guys are up to.
Great. Yeah, so hey everybody, I'm Nick Cicero. I'm the CEO and founder of Del Mondo. And so Del Mondo is a creative studio and technology company that's really working with brands, media companies, and creators, helping them understand their insights, building tools and technology that are really helping dig deep into how should you actually monetize this audience. And so as Al and I will talk about in a second, live streaming we think is something that's so important to everybody. There's a huge opportunity for engagement. When you guys, everybody who's watching this live stream now, and hello to all my friends that are watching and checking it out, thanks.
Nick, you know how many friends watching this? This is Al and mine's audience.
Man. It's okay.
Keep going now. Sorry.
So basically, when all of you guys who are watching the stream right now, you're live, you're engaged, you have a direct conversation with Al and Gary and myself. That's something that's huge and it's untapped right now. And there actually aren't a lot of companies out there that are specializing in building those deep data sets around the live streaming space.
AKA trying to give the brands or the content producers insights from an analytics standpoint to do what to do next.
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, we actually take a look at at all sides of the content creation piece when we actually look at media companies and creators. So up front, it's trying to understand deep audience segmentation and really break apart what is making up a creator's audience. You might have 1 million followers, but if only 100,000 of them are actually engaged in consuming content, there's certainly a huge gap that you could probably figure out how to identify. And then understanding what those 100,000 people who are actually consuming your content, what are their attributes? And that's something that really hasn't been done on a deep level before.
And so what are you guys up to?
Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, look, again, I go back to what I know, which is television. And,
right.
And you look at, for the
and
longest
great
time,
content.
and content. People watch TV, people view content, whatever, for people, for information. And brands, if you go back to sponsors, you know, back in the 50s, they didn't know who was watching. And the model has pretty much not changed that much. I mean, AC Nielsen, you know, there was a couple of other companies, but Arbitron. But, you know, what Del Mondo is doing, Nick, and this is a deep dive and a dynamic dive of looking at who is consuming this content. And who are they, and what are they doing?
So it's a partnership that you're enabling the stuff you're doing at Roker Media to get those insights?
Yeah, to get those insights, to be able to look at who, you know, how people are interacting with the talent. Like we've got this great young talent, Evie, who's on You Now.
Just walk through.
Here's Evie for all of her You Now fans.
Yeah.
You know. And it was very funny. Evie was sitting over.
I needed that moment.
Evie was sitting over here and said, "I'm going to go into my Evie character."
By putting on her hat?
It's her. She's the same.
Right.
So there's no. But I digress.
Wait a minute. Back to what you said earlier. Are you going to help Roker Media find some of this talent?
We are going to help with the finding, but actually Roker Media, the technology piece for this live streaming network that they're creating, is actually going to be powered by the Del Mondo Creator Studio. And so, Gary, you know, you've seen some of the beta versions.
Yep.
We've been working on this for 8 months now, and we've taken everything that we've learned working with brands and creators over the past year and a half, packaged it all up into a really awesome software suite. So getting all of that social video data across every platform that it can be consumed on, even first-party data, and as Al said before, it's not just about the consumption of content, but understanding the psychographics, the segmentation details, who is actually consuming this content, all the way down to the individual user.
So knowing that I have to go see my grandma on her birthday, and that we have 12 minutes. She's 86.
Grandma.
Love you, Grandma. See you in a few minutes, Esther. India.
Yes.
We wouldn't have you just sitting here not doing anything. That would be a huge mistake. Yeah. So in the back half of this, you have questions?
Yeah.
Cool.
Some questions.
Yeah, let's do it. Nick, stick around. Maybe.
Cool.
Maybe one of your fans might have asked a question.
That's right. There you go.
Mom might ask a question.
Should I just roll on?
Yeah,
roll in.
All right,
roll in.
Go ahead.
All right, Matt wants to know, how can this millennial generation capitalize on all these things in the years to come and 4 years to come?
Capitalize
on all these trends.
I think that's more of an, actually, Nick, as a young entrepreneur, how old are you?
I will be 29 next month.
Looking great, great. What do you think of your contemporaries, like all you 20-somethings that all have the audacity now to have all your companies? In our age groups, we didn't think that stuff. You go get a job. Obviously your generation is dramatically more inclined to like, well, I'm going to start a company.
Yeah. I think that my generation, and I hope, I'm trying not to speak for my whole generation, but I will for 1 second. But I do think...
since they're all your fans.
Pretty much, since my fans, millennials, I'm talking Nick.
You're the voice of the millennial generation.
So from the voice of millennials, I simply think that we're more willing to say, why not? And so if somebody says, this is the way that it's done, I think that our generation today is willing to say, why not? Like, why can't we change the entire face of the media landscape and how creators and television is monetized? We can, and we're doing it right now. We're doing it with
Nick,
Al.
do you think that it's also because a lot of people were willing to throw money at you to do that? So I think one of the most interesting things is, I'm not so sold that it's the psychographic of millennials. I think that we're just in a financial bubble right now, just like we were in the late 90s when Gen X was able to start 1 million different companies too, because there was a lot of idiots like me throwing $50,000 checks at anybody who had a random idea. How much do you think the macroeconomic climate around, everybody's trying to find their Mark Zuckerberg? I'm sure like your uncle's neighbor like thinks that you're Mark Zuckerberg. Like I see that all the time. Like I literally get 900 emails a month, Al, from people that I grew up with in the wine business who are like, hey Gary, you gotta check out my niece's neighbor's dog's caretaker. She's the next Mark Zuckerberg, and her idea is like the Uber for lollipops, right? Like, do you think that it's a psychographic thing of just the way you guys grew up, or do you think that it's a little opportunistic that like, hey, wait a minute, let me get this straight. I can either go get a job, or I can get 5 peeps to give me $500,000. I could try to make a go at this random idea I have.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's taking a little bit of both. I do think that there's a huge opportunity for people that understand that people will give them money to start a really great company, and I think that that's very empowering to people. But I think that the other side of it is I just think that we have more accessibility and just actually a closer relationship with the technology platforms today. Like I said, when I first started college, Facebook was the first year of Facebook, and I had to call my buddy to get his digital camera because he was the rich kid on the block. And I said, hey, can you send me a photo from your cool digital camera so I can put it up on my Facebook page? And so, like, just knowing that
and what was the ROI of that picture? Did you, like, close?
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
So I also think the other thing is that for a lot of millennials, it's kind of the why not in that right now the environment is such that jobs aren't great.
Right.
It's
a better alternative.
So why not?
It's like
do
more
that?
practical.
Why not give it a shot?
All right, India, what do you got? Oh, sorry.
Oh,
go ahead, India.
Keegan, do you think TV networks will ever allow a true a la carte service?
I'd be so curious what your thought is on this.
You know, it's not so much the networks, although you're seeing them more and more now offering their own apps. And it may very well be it's not going to be so much a collection of cable channels as it's going to be a collection of apps. That everybody's going to offer their own app for whether it's Showtime or HBO. They already have
BBC,
them.
Right?
Yeah, they already have them, but you've got to log into a cable provider.
Right.
Well, eventually that's going to break down. And you know, like again, I hate to toot my own company's horn or my company, but the one I do work for. You know, they're content providers, and they're also the providers of the transmission. Well, if you've got both, you're in a good spot.
Do you think things like production companies or have production DNA like a Roker Media eventually can be so successful with their content? I think a lot of times, let's use a third party, Mark Burnett, right? Like, why isn't there a Mark Burnett OTT? If he and that company is so capable of producing great content, if the internet is the true distributor and middleman, I'm actually thinking, first you're thinking cable providers, unbundling, then we're thinking networks unbundling their shows within their network. Now the question becomes, are the people actually producing the content? You know, if you've got 7 shows and they may be on 7 different networks, are you just an OTT thing?
Well, if you can get somebody to bankroll those shows,
that's right.
And then because then you own the IP.
Or the counter argument to everybody's 2 cents on that is, if you have a smash hit, can you use the leverage of that to make people buy? I mean, if you really think about it, the a la carte thing.
I'd argue that's what Fullscreen's doing, actually.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Fullscreen has been basically developing this slate of anchor series, like the Electra Girl and Electra Dyna Girl, and that is now like the anchor content inside of the new Fullscreen app, which actually is pretty good if you're into that type of stuff.
India, what do you got? Stop looking at your email.
Drew?
We have a show going on here.
I was so excited to get this one. And Drew, is it possible to place ads against viewers who consumed a particular live stream?
Very soon. Very soon.
Yeah, and Facebook's working on. I mean, absolutely. I mean, one thing everybody who's watching you have to understand is like Facebook. You know, actually, let's talk about that for a second. This is actually a random question. This is a subjective call because I don't know if any of us will be grounded in the truth. Do you think that Facebook backed into one of the great companies of all time? Like, if you think about them as a marketing and data company, it started off as a social network. Like, we're all, you know, especially you were year one, almost everybody in this room, you know, except maybe the lovely lady there, we were all there when MySpace was running stuff. And so Facebook was clearly a niche, a different play, a college version, and then built from that. Like, do you think that Facebook backed in? Like, is it so hard to replicate Facebook because the first 5 to 7 years, people were giving Facebook so much data because it was a social network, not an advertising platform. Is that almost never replicatable again?
I think you're right, because I think right now, I mean, we were neophytes in a sense. We're here, learn everything about
What is
us.
your social security number?
Sure, here's everything. Here's everything about. We're going to throw up our entire lives to you. And now it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I think we are much more circumspect.
Well, let me ask you a random question that I think about on Al's point there, which I think there's an interesting thing. Are you hesitant to give your data, or do you look at it the reverse, which is, I want to give machines as much data as possible so that I see ads that I actually want to see?
I mean, I always want to see ads that I actually want to see. So I'm much more of the vein that I understand that, that they're going to take information about me and they're going to hopefully help make things better and then give me things that I like better. So I really
trust
don't.
the machine.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I trust the machine. I wouldn't say I always.
Are you willing
would
to tell everybody your
100%.
social security number right now?
No, I don't have
How about
life
your
block.
credit card number?
No way.
Who did that, by the way? Do you guys know? What's that? Was it DJ Khaled? It was Khaled, right?
DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
Like snapped it out. And
Yeah, and then like everybody like used it. That's unbelievable.
Wow.
That's funny.
What a dope.
Al, let me ask you. I'm being selfish now.
Sure.
Where were you in your career when cable was emerging?
It's funny. My first recollection of cable was I was in college.
Okay.
This was 1975.
Okay.
And cable was really more about reception.
Okay.
I lived in upstate New York, and it was the.
And were you in a 13-channel
I
life
was in a
at that point?
Not even 13. Yeah, it was. I mean, I had a TV, I had a Sony Trinitron TV, an 8-inch Sony Trinitron TV with a knob
Yeah.
and a UHF knob.
Yeah. Right.
And the
And
cable,
was the first cable box that like beige
it
thing
didn't
where
have,
you would
didn't
slide?
have a cable box.
Got it. Okay.
It just came into the back of your TV, and you basically with an adapter. And we got the 3 networks. We got Showtime, and we got a couple of time and temperature channels.
Right.
We literally had there was a black and white camera that scanned a suite of weather.
Was that when you looked and said, "Wait a minute, I can do this better"?
Yeah, exactly. And that was cable TV. Yeah.
What did Showtime put out back then?
They ran Blazing Saddles nonstop.
24/7.
24/7.
That's what they had.
That's what
content
they had. They had that and a couple of other movies.
When did you know that cable was a game changer in the TV landscape? And did at that point were you caring because that was a career that you were looking to explore?
For me, cable, and it's interesting because he just passed away. I literally stood up and took notice. I had resisted getting cable when I was in a hotel in Washington, D.C., and I saw the Larry Sanders Show on HBO. And I thought, my God, this is unbelievable. And that night I ordered cable.
You resisted because you thought it was an overhead you didn't need? You're
Yeah,
like, I got 13 channels.
I got channels here. I mean, I don't have time to watch what I've got right now.
Right.
So now I'm spending $300 a month not to watch all these channels.
And Nick, what about you? You're 29. You grew up and you had 500 channels at your disposal?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
what about
we had a lot of
internet?
channels.
You're 29. Internet. When did internet hit your world?
Yeah, so it's funny because for me the big thing was going to college and getting access to 24-hour-a-day high-speed or high-speed cable internet. You know, my family had dial-up all through high school.
Like 28.8?
Yeah, like
56
slow, like slow enough.
14.4?
No, 28.
You heard the
Probably
motor.
28, and then we went up to 56K. Probably
big day.
Big.
Yeah.
I remember after freshman year
It's
I
like
came back.
bringing
My
color
parents had
TV home.
internet.
The first time you brought color TV.
It blew your mind, right?
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Look at the Flintstones.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's incredible.
So
Okay,
it's a huge. I mean, it was a huge game changer for me. I mean, the ability for me to have access. Obviously, I knew a ton about the internet, but I actually was the kid who the Apple Store was new in Syracuse. I grew up in Syracuse, and the Apple Store came in, and I went into the Apple Store like every day after school, and I would
just to like hang.
Just to hang. Like I played keyboard, like played on the keyboard and learned how to like produce
music.
music.
Did they think you were like stealing? Like did they
No, like by the third week in the summertime, they were kind of cool. They were like hanging around, watching me make different beats and things like that, and they're just really into it. And then they gave me a discount, and I bought the computer.
So I'm going to wrap with this. The reason I kind of went there, and what's really interesting is this guy's 29 years old. For him to talk about his childhood in such a technology archaic way, right? It's a crazy punchline. For everybody who's watching, if you do not understand that this is the beginning.
Yeah.
This is it. Like, this is it. We got live. Like, this is, and by the way, it's always the beginning.
Right.
This
is radio in the 1920s.
That's exactly right. And so I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited that you stopped by. I'm glad we did this. This was fun.
Thank you.
Nick, thanks for hanging. Love you guys. Have a good day. I got to go see Grandma.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Esther. Mwah.
Awesome. That was fun.
Good
job.